Ito yung speech ko. Dito.
Tignan mo na lang speaker kung papalit. Dito lang sa baba.
Ano ito, diba? Pwede na? Wala pa po? Tayo muna natin. Bes? Ako may popcorn ko. Popcorn maker. Ako mo ano lang. Wala pinagtatawan na. Yes, po. Mahaba lang kasi pagbasa ko ng magbabasa ko ngayon. Pagka per kada ano ba, ibabasahin ko sa session. Session resumed. Session resumed.
Mr. Speaker, may we acknowledge the presence of our guests.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, may we acknowledge the presence of our very own Deputy Speaker Abraham Bambol N. Tolentino, who is with us on the floor and who is also here as President of the Philippine Olympic Committee. Mr. Speaker, it is with pride that we also acknowledge the presence of our medalists in the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics, namely Ms. Hidilyn Francisco Diaz, gold medalist in women's weightlifting, Ms. Nesthy Petecio, silver medalist in women's boxing, Mr. Carlo Paalam, silver medalist in the men's flyweight boxing event, and Mr. Yumir Marshall, bronze medalist in the men's boxing middleweight division.
Session suspended. Paano natin? Annie, wala pa isa ba? Wala pa isa, kulang pa isa. Sige boss, stop. Teleprompter.
Ano ba ginagamit natin?
Kanila yun. Dala nila yun. Better ba? Yeah boss, better pagka ano bro, better na. Si Heidi na lang boss, pagka po. Okay na. Okay na tayo. Okay, we're good. Okay na. Session resumed. The Honorable Guest of the House of Representatives, Ms. Hidilyn Francisco Diaz, gold medalist in women's weightlifting. Ms. Nesthy Alcaide Petecio, silver medalist in women's boxing. Mr. Carlo Paalam, silver medalist in the men's flyweight boxing event. And Mr. Yumir Marshall, bronze medalist in the men's boxing middleweight division. We welcome you to the House of Representatives. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we also have with us our esteemed guests, including the dedicated women and men who served as trainers and coaches of our Olympians. The Honorable William Ramirez, Chairperson of the Philippine Sports Commission. Ms. Celia Kiram, Commissioner, Philippine Sports Commission. Director Mark Velasco, PSC National Training Director, and Mr. Mansueto Onyok Velasco Jr., silver medalist in the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. For the boxing team, Mr. Ronaldo Chavez, head coach for men, and Mr. Marcos Jarwin Manalo, mental performance training coach. For the weightlifting team, Mr. Julius Irvin Hikaru Takamura Naranjo, coach, and Ms. Jenith Aro, nutritionist for both boxing and weightlifting.
Please rise, the dedicated women and men of the Philippine Olympic delegation who served as trainers and coaches of our Olympians, and our other esteemed guest, Honorable William Ramirez, Chairperson, Philippine Sports Commission, Mr. Mariano Araneta Jr., Chef de Mission 2020 Tokyo Olympics, Ms. Celia Kiram, Commissioner, Philippine Sports Commission, Director Mark Velasco, PSC, National Training Director, and Mr. Mansueto Onyok Velasco Jr., silver medalist in the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. For the boxing team, Mr. Donald Walter Abnett, Olympic head coach, Mr. Ronald Chavez, head coach for men, Mr. Nolito Velasco, head coach for women, Mr. Elmer Pamisa, coach, Mr. Reynaldo Galido, coach, Mr. Marcos Jarwin Manalo, mental performance coach. For the weightlifting team, Ms. Karen Katrina V. Trinidad, sports psychologist, Mr. Kaiwen Gao, coach, and Mr. Julius Irvin Hikaru Takamura Naranjo, coach, Ms. Jeanette Aro, nutritionist for both boxing and weightlifting. We welcome you to the House of Representatives. The Speaker wishes to address the body. You may take your seats. The Majority and the Minority Leader of the House, the Deputy Speakers, fellow members, officers of the Philippine Olympic Committee, headed by its President, our very own Deputy Speaker Abraham Bambol Tolentino, our distinguished guests, athletes and coaches, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome all of you to the House of Representatives as we honor and welcome our victorious Filipino Olympic team. Dear athletes, you have shown the world what Filipinos can achieve, despite facing the most difficult of circumstances. Your determination and fighting spirit have inspired countless Filipinos during these trying times. You gave us hope. You gave us something to dream about. And in those shining moments of triumph, you have all made our kababayans, young and old, residing here or abroad, extremely proud to be called Filipinos. Tunay ngang taas noo kahit kanino, ang Pilipino ay ako. We honor our dear athletes today because your individual triumph serves as great examples to our Filipino youth and dreamers. We also give honor to your parents, your loved ones, and your families who gave unconditional understanding and support despite your long hours of training. We also give thanks to the coaches and trainers of these athletes. Your perseverance and sacrifice for the country has bore fruit. Finally, we give thanks and honor to all the Filipino Olympians, past and present. Your hard work and excellence have inspired all of us. Dear athletes, you are modern-day heroes. Just to make it to the level of Olympic competition is one of the greatest achievements a human being can attain in a lifetime. Hidilyn Diaz silver medal triumph in the 2016 Rio Olympics ended a 20-year Olympic medal drought. Last one by boxer Mansueto Onyok Velasco Jr., who is also here today. Yumir Marshall's bronze medal finish, Carlo Paalam's and Nesthy Petecio's silver finish, and Hidilyn Diaz's golden victory is historically significant as it marks the first multi-medal finish for the Philippines since 1932. Tunay pong tumagos sa puso nating mga Pilipino ang inyong mga kwento ng buhay. Kung paano nagtagumpay ang isang dating konduktor ng jeep, isang batang babaeng unang sumabak sa boxing kahit na lalaki ang kalaban. Isang dating nagpipit-pit lang ng lata na natagpuan ang direksyon at kapalaran sa boxing. At isang Pilipinang 4 na beses na sumabak sa Olympics hanggang sa makamit ang pinapangarap na medalya. We honor you because you have become the best that you can be. We honor you because you gave honor to all of us. Finally, I call on my fellow members of Congress to support the grassroots development of sports on our country so that we could produce more Hidilyn Diaz, Nesthy Petecio, Carlo Paalam, and Marshall. I have authored a Philippine High School for Sports bill, which was consolidated and eventually passed as the National Academy of Sports to develop better athletes at the grassroots level. But we need to do more. More than the symbolic medals we will bestow them, the most meaningful honor we could grant to our athletes here today is by heeding the genuine needs of our country's national sports program. Let us build on their success by making sure our country is better equipped and prepared for the next global sports competition. Again, thank you, dear athletes. Thank you, dear coaches. Thank you for inspiring us all to be better versions of ourselves. Mabuhay po kayo. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on August 2, 2021, the House adopted Resolution number 198 expressing congratulations and deepest gratitude to the dedicated men and women of the Philippine Olympic delegation for the highly successful and historic performance in the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. Mr. Speaker, we are privileged to have with us the President of the Philippine Olympic Committee, our colleague, Deputy Speaker Abraham Bambol N. Tolentino, and the Chairperson of the Philippine Sports Commission, the Honorable William Ramirez. May I request that they be invited to the rostrum to receive copies of the House Resolution number 198. Mr. Speaker, I move that the Secretary General be directed to read the title and the text of Resolution number 198.
We welcome and invite the President of the Philippine Olympic Committee, Deputy Speaker Abraham Bambol N. Tolentino, Chairperson of the Philippine Sports Commission, Honorable William Ramirez, and Mr. Mariano Araneta Jr. to proceed to the rostrum. The Secretary General is directed to read the title and text of House Resolution number 198.
House of Representatives, Resolution number 198. Resolution expressing warmest congratulations and deepest gratitude to the dedicated women and men of the Philippine Olympic delegation for the highly successful and historic performance in the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. Whereas the Philippines emerged as the best performing Southeast Asian country during the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games held from July 23 to August 8, 2021 in Tokyo, Japan, and surpassed its 3 bronze records set during the Los Angeles Olympic Games in 1932. Whereas this historic breakthrough was achieved with the Philippine Olympic delegation composed of 19 athletes with their respective coaches and trainers who competed in 11 different sporting events. Whereas the athletes and coaches of the Philippine Olympic delegation displayed their sporting prowess, impeccable sportsmanship during the global multisports event and secured a spectacular 4-medal haul, including 1 gold by Hidilyn Diaz for the women's 55-kilogram division in weightlifting and 3 from boxing, 1 silver by Nesthy Petecio for the women's featherweight 54-57-kilogram division, 1 silver by Carlo for the men's flyweight 48-52-kilogram division, and 1 bronze by Marshall in the men's middleweight 69-75 kilogram division, whereas Hidilyn Diaz led a crop of Philippine Olympic athletes and captured the first ever gold medal of our country, which ended the 97-year pursuit of gold, while Carlo Paalam, Nesthy Petecio, and Yumir Marshall hold the distinction of representing the most rampant boxing group in the history of the country. Whereas this year's Olympic team also sent 3 athletes to the medal round, namely Carlos Edrariulo, who finished 4th in artistic gymnastics, Marjeline Didal, who finished 7th in women's street skateboarding, and Ernest Tuben John Ubenya, who finished 11th in men's pole vault. Whereas other athletes from the Philippine delegation include weightlifter Elrin Ann Ando in women's 64 kilogram division, boxer Irish Magdo in women's flyweight 48-51 kilogram division, golfers Yuka Saso and Bianco Pagdanganan in women's individual stroke play, and Jupok Pagunsan in men's individual stroke play, judoka Kiyome Watanabe in women's 67 kilogram judo, shooter Jason Valdez in men's 10-meter air rifle, rower Chris Ivares in men's single results, sprinter Cristina Maria Knott in women's 200-meter, taekwondo athlete Kurt Brian Barbosa in men's 58 kilogram division, and swimmers Remedy Rule in women's 100-meter and 200-meter butterfly, and Luke Gebbie in men's 50-meter and 100-meter freestyle. Whereas the generosity, encouragement, and vital backing provided by the business sector in private organization individuals and the support extended by the whole country, led by the Philippine Olympic Committee and the Philippine Sports Commission, were pivotal in meeting the requirements of Filipino athletes for the nation's competitive and triumphant Olympic campaign. Whereas the hard work, self-discipline, intense preparation, mental and physical strength, and a highly professional sport team composed of training and mental performance coaches, nutritionists, and physiotherapists propelled the athletes towards a sterling victory that brought pride and honor to the Filipino people. Whereas the exceptional and remarkable finish of the athletes and their coaches during the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games highlights the immutable Filipino spirit to rise above adversities and ushers in a new era of sports heroes who bring joy and inspiration to our fellow Filipinos amid the difficult conditions brought about by the pandemic. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives to express its warmest congratulations and deepest gratitude to dedicated women and men of the Philippine Olympic delegation for the highly successful and historic performance in the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. Approved, Lord Alan J. Q. Velasco, Speaker. This resolution in consideration of the House Resolutions numbered 2098, 2111, 2119, and 2144 were adopted by the House of Representatives on August 25, 2021.
Mr. Speaker, in order to allow our members to meet and extend their greetings to our distinguished guests, I move that we suspend our session for a few minutes.
Session is suspended. Congratulations. Oh, yes, sir. Sige, boss.
Salamat. Dito na kami padaanin.
Dito daw.
Thank you so much.
Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on August 25, 2021, the House adopted Resolution number 197 conferring the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Yumir Marshall for capturing the bronze medal in the men's boxing middleweight division at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Mr. Speaker, we are privileged to have with us today Mr. Yumir Marshall, bronze medalist in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. May we request that he be invited to the rostrum to receive a copy of House Resolution 197 and the Congressional Medal of Distinction conferred upon him by the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I move that the Secretary General be directed to read the title and the text of Resolution number 197.
We welcome and invite Mr. Ymir Marshall to proceed to the rostrum. The Secretary General is directed to read the title and text of House Resolution number 197.
House of Representatives, Resolution number 197. Resolution congratulating, commending, and conferring the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Ymir Marshall for capturing the bronze medal in the men's boxing middleweight division at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Whereas, on 5 August 2021, Filipino Olympian boxer Ymir Felix Marshall bagged the bronze medal in the men's boxing middleweight division for his performance at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Whereas, a proud son of Zamboanga City, Ymir Marshall was born on 20 October 1995 at Barangay Lunzuran, Zamboanga City, is a member of the Philippine Air Force. Whereas, he's the youngest child of Eulalio and Carmelita and a brother to Eliver, Elgiber, Eunice, and Yukar. Whereas, Marshall had his share of struggles and challenges early in life as he sought to uplift his family status, even working as a jeepney conductor to augment their family income. The remarkable Filipino trait of being family-oriented runs deep within his veins, as later in life, he would always send back most of his parents, siblings in Zamboanga. Whereas, the Olympian pugilist was molded by the family's boxing tradition, led by his father Eulalio, who was a local boxing coach in Zamboanga, and his cousin was part of the 2006 national boxing team. Whereas, inspired by the words of influence of his father, Marshall started training at the age of 6, went to juggle the stars in order to nurture his education at Putik Central School and later at the Maria Clara Lobregat National High School in Divisoria and Pasay City West High School. Whereas, his sacrifices, perseverance, and commitment at such a young age paid off when he emerged victorious and secured a gold medal at the 2011 International Boxing Association Junior World Boxing Championships in Astana, Kazakhstan, while he gained plaudits when he was proclaimed as the best Asian youth boxer in 2013. Whereas, for 3 consecutive appearances in the 2015, 2017, and 2019 edition of the Southeast Asian Games, Marshall successfully represented the country by winning the gold medal in the middleweight division of men's boxing. Whereas, the boxing hero from Zamboanga City ignited sparks of hope and pride in the hearts of his Filipinos through his performances in the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics, as he shone the brightest in the most illustrious stage of boxing competition. Whereas, this is only the second time in history that a country and the delegate of Paris brought home at least 3 Olympic medals, with Marshall's glory being the defining moment for many Filipino sports analysts enthusiasts, since the medal feat only happened once before in the 1932 Los Angeles Summer Games. Whereas, the talent and sacrifices of Ymir Dong Marshall has brought immense honor and dignity for the country as a Zamboanga native, reinvigorated in the bleaker spirit of the Filipino nation. Whereas, the House of Representatives awarded the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Filipino achievers in sports, business, medicine, science, and other fields. Whereas, for his farming and moral feat in the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics, Ymir Marshall etched his name in the lore and history as a Filipino boxer worthy of recognition and national acclaim. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives to congratulate, commend, and confer the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Ymir Felix Marshall for capturing the bronze medal in the men's boxing middle division, the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Some resolved further that a copy of this resolution be furnished Ymir Marshall. Approved. Lord Alan J. Q. Velasco, Speaker. This resolution in consideration with House Resolutions numbered 2084, 2086, 2087, 2094, 2106, 2113, 2126, and 2134 was adopted by the Representatives on August 25, 2021.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Congratulations. Maraming salamat. Called naman. All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Speaker, in order to allow our members to meet and extend their greetings to our distinguished guest, I move that we suspend our session for a few minutes.
Session is suspended.
second reading ng extension ng requirement. Ito ba yan?
Sila eh.
Wala naman ah. Asan? Kahapon ba ba?
Today yan.
Saan yung sa barm? Green tea? Naka second reading.
Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on August 25, 2021, the House adopted Resolution number 196 conferring the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Carlo Paalam for bringing pride and honor to the country by winning the silver medal in the men's flyweight boxing event at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics on August 7, 2021. Mr. Speaker, we are privileged to have with us today Mr. Carlo Paalam, silver medalist in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. May I request that he be invited to the rostrum to receive a copy of the House Resolution number 196 and the Congressional Medal of Distinction conferred upon him by the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I move that the Secretary General be directed to read the title and the text of the resolution number 196.
We welcome and invite Mr. Carlo Paalam to proceed to the rostrum. The Secretary General is directed to read the title and text of House Resolution number 196.
House of Representatives, Resolution number 196, resolution congratulating and conferring the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Carlo Paalam for bringing pride and honor to the country by winning the silver medal in the men's flyweight boxing event at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics in 07 August 2021. Whereas on 07 August 2021, Carlo Paalam made Philippine boxing history by winning the silver medal in the men's flyweight boxing event in the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games held at Kokugan Arena in Tokyo, Japan. Whereas since the Philippines first competed in 1924, our country has sent athletes to every edition of the Summer Olympic Game except in 1980 in an earnest campaign to win the prestigious Olympic gold medal. Whereas the Olympics is considered the pinnacle sports competition in the world, the 2020 Summer Olympics was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic and was held in Tokyo, Japan in 2021. Whereas Paalam silver finish after Hidilyn Diaz golden victory, Nesthy Petecio silver medal and universal bronze finish is historically significant to mark the first multi-medal finish for the Philippines since 1932. Whereas Paalam and Petecio silver medal Olympic triumph is a first for Philippine boxing in 25 years after Mansueto Onyok Velasco silver medal win at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. Whereas Carlo Paalam was born on 16 July 1998 to a modest family in Takalakag, Bukidnon, Naplad Town in Bukidnon Province, next to outlying rural village in Cagayan de Oro City. His family eventually relocated to Cagayan de Oro to seek for better opportunities, whereas in order to put food in the family table, the young Paalam used to conveyance for garbage in a sanitary landfill near their shanty in Barangay Carmen, Cagayan de Oro. He used to swap punches with other kids to win the bulk soft drinks in bucket farts. Whereas, at a young age, Carlo Paalam joined a local tournament known as a Boxing at the Park and won his first boxing match at the age of 7 using his winnings 150 pesos to buy rice for his family. Whereas in 2009, he was scouted by local officials during one of the Boxing Park tournaments and was placed under Cagayan de Oro's boxing training program, which fielded him in various youth competitions such as the Batang Pinoy, Philippine National Games, and the National Championship. He earned the nickname Pipilata or Tin Can Crusher from one of his early coaches, two-time Olympian Roberto Bobby Halnais. Whereas Carlo Paalam's life was transformed from being a garbage speaker to being an amateur pugilist after being mentored by former national coach Elmer Pamisa, who took over the amateur boxing development program in Cagayan de Oro, who searched for him and dutifully trained him again after Paalam quit boxing for a brief time. Whereas Paalam joined the national team in 2013 when he was 15 years old and quickly distinguished himself as a promising boxer when he took home the bronze medals both at the IBA Youth Asian and World Championships in 2016. Whereas Carlo won several other medals in the national boxing arena, including a gold medal at the Astana President's Cup in Kazakhstan in 2017, bronze medal at the 2018 Asian Games, gold medal at the 10th AIBA International Tournament in 2018, gold medal at the first Thailand International Boxing Tournament in 2018, and gold medal at the 2019 Southeast Asian Game held in the Philippines. Whereas Carlo Paalam secured a last-minute spot for the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games to the International Olympic Committee Boxing Task Force ranking by virtue of number 2 ranking in Asian boxing flyweight category after Continental Olympic qualifiers. Whereas, coming to the Olympics as an underdog, the Cagayan de Oro native did not have an easy run to the finals as she had to defeat two-time Olympians, Brendan Irwin of Ireland and Mohamed Frissi of Algeria, to reach the quarterfinals. Stunned the world after defeating the Rio Olympic gold medalist and men's flyweight world number 1, Shakobidin Zerov of Uzbekistan in the quarterfinals, and narrowly defeated Ryume Tanaka of Japan in the semifinal match. Whereas Carlo Paalam gallantly fought at the finals of men's flyweight division to gain what would been the country's first Olympic gold medal in the sporting event many Filipinos highly celebrate and revere, but won only a third round out of 3 rounds, thus gaining a silver medal for his valiant efforts. Whereas Paalam, after emotionally plant a kiss on his Olympic silver medal, was just made to present scrap metals, humbly declared, the said medal symbolizes his life. Everything came full circle, for the boxer used the cabbage for scrap metals to earn food for his family and came out victorious and successful because of perseverance, sacrifice, and work. Whereas Carlo Paalam's Olympic story mirrored the journey he took out of squalor of living of entrepreneurship views as such inspired countless Filipinos, athletes, and young dreamers to reach for their goals and achieve their dreams despite their current predicaments in life. Whereas Paalam's fighting heart, noble spirit, high tide and hope, and dreams in our country's feeling for the current pandemic, economic downturn by bringing honor and pride to all Filipinos, whether in the country or abroad. Whereas the House of Representatives has awarded a Congressional Medal of Distinction for Filipino achievers in sports, business, medicine, and science in fields. Whereas with unwavering determination and astounding performance to bring the Olympic boxing glory to the country, Carlo Paalam inspired young Filipinos to persist and excel in sports. In his extraordinary story and achievement deserves utmost emulation and recognition. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives to congratulate and confer the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Carlo Paalam for bringing pride and honor to the country by winning the silver medal in the men's flyweight boxing event during the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games in '07, August 2021. Resolved further that a copy of the resolution be given to Carlo Paalam. Adopted, Lord Alan J. Q. Velasco, Speaker. This resolution is consideration of the House Resolutions number 2091, 2092, 2095, 2099, 2105, 2114, 2120, and 2133 was adopted by the House of Representatives on August 25, 2021.
Mr. Speaker, in order to allow our members to meet and extend their greetings to our distinguished guests, I move that we suspend our session for a few minutes.
Session is suspended. Kaya mo na?
So, kanina pinisa natin yung extension. Good ka naman. Andyan sila. Sino nandyan? Siya si Minister. They're in favor. Iba sa second reading.
Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, on August 25, 2021, the House adopted Resolution number 195 conferring the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Nesthy Petecio for winning the Philippines' first ever silver medal in women's boxing at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics on August 3, 2021. Mr. Speaker, we are privileged to have with us today Ms. Nesthy Petecio, silver medalist in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. May I request that she be invited to the rostrum to receive a copy of the House Resolution number 195 and the Congressional Medal of Distinction conferred upon her by the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I move that the Secretary General be directed to read the title and text of Resolution 195.
We welcome and invite Ms. Nesthy Petecio to proceed to the rostrum. The Secretary General is directed to read the title and text of House Resolution number 195.
House of Representatives, Resolution number 195, resolution congratulating, commending, and conferring the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Nesthy Petecio for winning the Philippines' first ever silver medal in women's boxing at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics in 03 August 2021. Whereas on 03 August 2021, Filipino Olympian pugilist Nesthy Petecio brought pride and honor to the country by winning the country's first ever silver medal in women's boxing at the Summer Olympics. Whereas since the Philippines first competed in 1924, our country has set antlers to every edition of the Summer Olympic Games except in 1980, in an earnest campaign to win the prestigious Olympic gold medal. Whereas the Olympics is considered the pinnacle of sports competition in the world, the 2020 Summer Olympics was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic as well held in Tokyo, Japan in 2021. Whereas Petecio's silver medal finish after Hidilyn Diaz golden victory is historically significant. It marks the first multi-medal finish for the Philippines since 1932. Whereas Petecio's silver medal Olympic triumph is the first for Philippine boxing in 25 years after Mansueto Onyok Velasco's silver medal win at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. Whereas said triumph is significant because it marks the first Olympic medal for a Filipino boxer in a nation where boxing is highly celebrated and revered, perhaps second only to basketball. Whereas Petecio's win is also noteworthy because a Filipina has brought home the long-sought honor for sports considered by majority of Filipinos to be domain of men. Whereas Nesthy Petecio was born in 1991 to a modest family in Bago Galera, Davao City, Teodoro. Her father is a farmer and her mother, Priscilla, is a housewife. Petecio used to pick chicken droppings with her sibling and sell them as fertilizer. Whereas she was born to a family of boxing enthusiasts, her father taught her the science of boxing, while her younger brother, Norlan, and younger sister, Diaz, also followed her footsteps and took up boxing. Whereas, like most Filipinos, she values her family very much. She joined boxing competitions to gain free meals and eventually to help her family and secrete her most recent victory to her father's Olympic dream and the steady and strong support of her immediate family. Whereas Petecio's fearlessness as a fighter started even during first amateur boxing fight during the Araw ng Davao when they first revealed that her first opponent in the ring was a man. Whereas she attended Rizal Technological University for higher education, whereas in 2007, she won gold in boxing at the Smart National Youth and Women's Open Boxing Championship in Cagayan de Oro, Philippines. The Amateur Boxing Association of the Philippines, Kalinan boxing team recruited her in the same year. Whereas at age 15, she already gained a start in the national women's boxing team. Whereas she successfully won numerous medals for the country, silver in boxing, the 2011 Southeast Asian Games, bronze in boxing, the 2012 Asian Championships, silver in boxing, the 2013 Southeast Asian Games, silver in boxing, the 2014 AIBA Women's World Championship, and gold in boxing at the 2015 Indonesia President's Cup. Whereas Petecio finished third in the boxing in the women's lightweight division at 2017 President's Cup in Astana, Kazakhstan. Ninth in boxing in the women's featherweight division at the 2007 Asian Championships at Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Whereas she was declared champion in the women's boxing featherweight division in the 2018 Felix Tam in Warsaw, Poland. She also finished ninth in boxing in the women's featherweight division at 2018 Asian Games in Indonesia, whereas she won gold in boxing at the 2019 Thailand Open International Boxing Championships. the 2019 NAIBA Women's World Boxing Championships, and the 2019 Southeast Asian Games. She finished ninth in boxing women's featherweight division at the 2019 Asian Championships in Bangkok, Thailand, whereas Nesthy Petecio won silver in boxing in the women's featherweight division after losing to Sena Airi of Japan in the final round, making her the first female fighter representing the Philippines to win a medal in boxing in the Philippines. Whereas Petecio did not let her modest height of 1.58 meters or 5 foot 2 inches get in the way for ambition. She proved to be a force to be reckoned with in the boxing ring. Whereas a proud and out member of the LGBTQIA community like fellow Olympian boxer Irish Magno, Petecio also dedicated her triumph to all members of the LGBTQIA, provide them inspiration and telling them that they also belong and can succeed and achieve anything they put their minds to. Whereas Petecio almost quit boxing as battled with depression after being knocked out at the 2018 Asian Games, but she managed to overcome depression and severe anxiety and brace a comeback in 2019, winning a World Championship gold in Russia, another gold in the South Asian Games held in the Philippines, inspiring many Filipinos suffering from mental health issues that the same can be overcome with determination and proper support. Whereas Petecio has now inspired countless Philippine women, girls, athletes, young Filipino dreamers to reach for their goals and achieve their dreams. Whereas Nesthy Petecio's fighting heart and noble spirit has ignited hope and dreams in our country, reeling from the current pandemic economic downturn by bringing honor and pride to all Filipinos, whether in the country or abroad. Whereas the House of Representatives has awarded a Congressional Medal Distinction for Filipino achievers in sports, business, medicine, science, and RPs. Whereas for remarkable feat in the Olympics and for bringing great honor and pride to the Filipinos in the whole country, Nesthy Petecio deserves utmost emulation and recognition. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives to congratulate, commend, and confer the Congressional Medal of Distinction to Nesthy Alcaide Petecio for winning the Philippines' first ever silver medal in women's boxing at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics in 03 August 2021. Resolved further that a copy of resolution be given to Nesthy Petecio. Adopted. Lord Alan J. Q. Velasco, Speaker.
Ito yung House Resolution. Tapos ito yung copy niya.
Dami akong papadikit sa bahay.
Alright.
Mr. Speaker, in order to allow our members to meet and extend their greetings to our distinguished guests, I move that we suspend our session for a few minutes.
Session is suspended.
Ryan, sama mo ako rito. Alright. Ready po.
Session is resumed.
Mr.
Majority
Speaker,
Leader.
on August 2, 2021, the House adopted Resolution number 193, congratulating, commending, and conferring the Congressional Medal of Excellence to Ms. Hidilyn Francisco Diaz for winning the Philippines' first ever gold medal in the Olympic Games at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Mr. Speaker, we are privileged to have with us today Ms. Hidilyn Francisco Diaz, the Philippines' first ever Olympic gold medalist. May I request that she be invited to the rostrum to receive a copy of her House Resolution number 193 and the Congressional Medal of Excellence conferred upon her by the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I move that the Secretary General be directed to read the title and text of House Resolution number 193.
We welcome and invite Ms. Hidilyn Francisco Diaz to proceed to the rostrum. The Secretary General is here directed to read the title and text of House Resolution number 193.
House of Representatives, Resolution number 193, resolution congratulating, commending, and conferring the Congressional Medal of Excellence to Ms. Hidilyn Francisco Diaz for winning the Philippines' first ever gold medal in the Olympic Games at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Whereas on 26 July 2021, Filipino Olympian Hidilyn Francisco Diaz brought immeasurable honor to the country by winning the country's first ever gold medal in the Olympic Games. Whereas since the Philippines first competed in 1924, our country has sent athletes to every edition of the Summer Olympic Games except in 1980, an earnest campaign to win the prestigious Olympic gold medal. Whereas the 2020 Summer Olympics was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the said prestigious sports event is now being held in Tokyo, Japan. Whereas the 55-kilogram competition for women's weightlifting in the Olympics was held on 26 July 2021, in which the current world's best female weightlifters from around the world competed. Whereas in 2008, Hidilyn Diaz was initially selected as a wild card entry to the Summer Olympics by the Philippine Weightlifting Association. Whereas she is the first female weightlifter to compete for the Philippines in the Olympics and the sixth weightlifter overall. Whereas Hidilyn Diaz's appearance in the Tokyo Olympics is the fourth time she has represented the country in the sports of weightlifting in the Olympics. Whereas in the 2016 Rio Olympics, Hidilyn Diaz won a silver medal in the 55-kilogram women's weightlifting event, ending a 20-year Olympic medal drought, which was last won by boxer Mansueto Onyok Velasco Jr. in 1996. Whereas Hidilyn Diaz has also won gold medals for the Philippines in women's weightlifting in the Asian Games 2018, Asian Championships 2015, and Southeast Asian Games 2019. Whereas Diaz won 3 gold medals in the 2020 Roma Weightlifting World Cup on January 29, 2020 in Rome, Italy. Whereas Hidilyn Diaz has also brought honor to the Philippines in victories in various international weightlifting competitions. She has also won silver medals in the Asian Championships 2019, Asian Indoor and Martial Arts Games 2017, Southeast Asian Games 2013 and 2011. Ms. Diaz also won bronze medals in several times at the World Championships 2015, 2017, and 2019. Asian Championships 2016 and Southeast Asian Games 2007. Whereas in this year's Tokyo Summer Olympics, the entire Philippines was won with Hidilyn Diaz after she won the country's first ever gold medal in the Olympics. Whereas prior to Ms. Diaz's winning of the Olympic gold medal in the 55-kilogram category in women's weightlifting, the Philippines has only won 10 medals, 3 silvers and 7 bronzes since it first participated in the Olympics in 1924. Whereas Ms. Diaz further sweetened her victory by securing Olympic records in the 55-kilogram division in women's weightlifting by 127-kilogram lift in the clean and jerk, which ended up being the Olympic record of that weight classification, which fed into a 224-kilogram total, also an Olympic record. Whereas she is truly considered a hero in our country by bringing immense pride and honor to the country and flag for which he has competed under the last 4 Olympics, in which he has won a silver and gold medal in the last 2. Whereas Hidilyn Diaz, he is from modest family Zamboanga. She is the fifth of 6 children of Eduardo and Emilita Diaz. Her father was a tricycle driver before becoming a farmer and a fisherman. Whereas Diaz was recruited into the Philippine Air Force in 2013 and is now a sergeant in the Air Force. Whereas, despite her success in sports, Ms. Diaz has also pursued college degree under Business Management Scholarship at the De Rizal College of St. Benilde in Manila. Whereas she represents not just the best of Zamboanga, Mindanao, and the Philippine Air Force, but the best of all Filipinos who have studied, trained, and persevered in their lives and careers despite the myriad challenges in order to achieve the pinnacle of success. Whereas she is the first Filipina weightlifter to compete for the Philippines, the first Filipina to earn a silver medal in the Olympics, the first Filipino Olympian to compete under a flag for 4 consecutive Summer Olympics, and the first Filipino to achieve an Olympic gold medal. Whereas Hidilyn Diaz has now inspired countless young Filipino women and girls, athletes, and young Filipino dreamers to reach for their goals and achieve their dreams. Whereas Hidilyn Diaz's fighting heart and noble spirit has ignited hope and dreams in our country's reeling from the current pandemic and economic downturn by bringing honor and pride to all Filipinos, whether in the country or abroad. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives to congratulate, commend, and confer the Congressional Medal of Excellence to Ms. Hidilyn Diaz for winning the Philippines' first ever gold medal in the Olympics at the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics. Resolved further that a copy of the resolution be given to Ms. Hidilyn Diaz. Adopted, Lord Alan J.Q. Velasco, Speaker. This resolution in consideration House Resolutions numbered 1982, 1983, 1984, 1985, 1986, 1987, 1988, 1989, 1990, 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995, 1996, 1997, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2024, 2031, 2032, 2036, 2037, 2038, 2039, 2043, 2045, 2046, 2047, 2048, 2049, 2050, 2051, 2056, 2057, 2059, 2060, 2069, 2078, and 2115 was adopted by the House of Representatives on August 2, 2021.
All vote. Lahat ma'am, sumusunod.
Oh, ang laki
Ma'am,
na.
ayos na ma'am?
Yes po, malaki pa sa... Oh, thank you so much po.
Medal of Excellence ma'am.
Thank you po.
Ma'am,
Laki pala, no?
ma'am, hindi pwede isang layo.
Ay, hindi pwede sila.
Ma'am, ano na. And here's the House resolution. And here's the actual copy of the resolution itself. Yeah. Okay. Picture natin. Yan, ma'am. Dami dyan.
Thank you so much po.
Ma'am, thank you. Alright.
Bilang ka na po.
43, ma'am.
Ang bata-bata ng delegates natin. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am.
Thank you so much po.
Thank you, ma'am. Hidilyn.
Mr. Speaker, in order to allow our members to meet and extend their greetings to our distinguished guests, I move that we suspend our session for a few minutes.
Session is suspended.
Boss, pwede rito. Boss, yung iba dito sa taas.
Iba ka, Arlie.
Pwede po.
Boss, sa kabilang side, oh. Boss, bababa din yan, boss, yung mga ano.
Ano, SG, invite mo na yung guest natin para sama-sama.
Boss, boss, wag na kayo.
Isa pa po.
For speed reading. I know, may vice na yun.
Bawal ka na yun. Yan sila. Ayos. Spread lang po ng konti. Top. Yan. Yok, kita.
Boss, tayo na konti, ah. Side lang konti.
Spread lang po konti para ma-release natin.
Ayos talaga eh. Alright. Congratulations.
Color black, oh, paligid.
Ito po daw hindi daw magugusto.
Dave, anong mga agenda mo? Ito, meron dito.
Ano pang bunso?
Ribs, approval ng Jordan. Pwede ka ba?
And also folder. Ayun. Bambol, magtrabaho ka naman dito. Palit ka. Oy, huwag ka tumakas. Ano, di? Hindi, okay lang yung pag start naman. Ano yan? Bawal rubber shoes. Rubber shoes, bawal. Rimpy. Rimpy. Rimpi. Start na tayo. Rimpi. Rips. So, Dave, okay na raw. So, ano natin doon? Ano doon natin?
Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve Journal Number 5 dated August 31 and September 1, 2021. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Are there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Journal number 5 is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider on third reading of House Bill 9178, and for this purpose, may I request the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call for the nominal voting.
The Secretary General is requested to read the title of House Bill 9178. You may proceed, Secretary General.
House Bill number 9178. An act further promoting entrepreneurship by strengthening, empowering, and enhancing the financing and other support programs for micro, small, and medium enterprises, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 6977 as amended, otherwise known as the Magna Carta for Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 9178. Abante, Abaya, Villanosa, Abu, Abueg Saldivar, Abunda, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Genaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arnie, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizalde, Co Juanco, Coliantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duawit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rude Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Goed, Gomark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Haloshos, Javier, Jimenez, Co Eliza, Co Wilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Losotan, Macapagal-Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangodadato, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marinio, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malaniaon, Uwaminal Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uwano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirasato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Yeda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Angcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Sabellano, Xiao, Silverio, Singson Mihan, Sinsuwat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, Si Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alaysa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherney, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate, and Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill Number 9178. Abaya, Abellanosa, Abunda, Costa, Agaraw, Albano, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bagatsing, Bañas Nograles, Barsaga, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabochan, Calixto, Kanama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arnie, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizalde, Co Juanco, Cua, Daza, De Jesus, Defensor Michael, Duabit, Duhali, Ebcas, Erice, Ermita Buhain, Espino, Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Fortun, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Goed, Gonzales Sandro, Gico, Haresco, Kunghun, Liachon, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangodadato, Marcoleta, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles Juan, Owaminal, Ong Jose Ordanes, Pacquiao Alberto, Pichay Pimentel Pineda, Revilla, Rivera, Roman Romero, Roque, Salceda, Saulug, Xiao, Silverio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, Si Alvarado, Taduran Talyado, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherney, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Torres Gomez, Tupas, T. Alan, Unabia, Uy Juliet, Veloso, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Yap Victor.
With 191 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstention, House Bill number 9178 is approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third and final reading of House Bill 9850, and then for this purpose, may I request the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Secretary General is directed to read the title of House Bill 9850 and to proceed with the nominal voting. Secretary General.
House Bill number 9850, an act integrating a comprehensive study of Philippine history during World War II into the higher education curriculum. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill number 9850 on third reading. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abweg Saldivar, Abunda, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Genaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabotyan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Maria Laarni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalaw, Co. Angelica, Co. Elizaldi, Coanco, Collantes, Crisologo, Cua, Coresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fuentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Teron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gulias, Guya, Jaresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Haloshos, Javier, Jimenez, Ko Elisa, Ko Wilton, Konggun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Leachon, Legarda, Lim, Lim Kai Chong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangododatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Noglares Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malañaon, Oaminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Juano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Yeda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Savellano, Siao, Silverio, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing, Estrellita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves, Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villaferte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villarasa Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate, and Subiri. Second call in consideration and third reading of House Bill number 9850. Abaya, Abellanosa, Abunda, Acosta, Agaraw, Albano, Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amatong, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bagatsing, Banyas Nograles, Barzaga, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabatchan, Calixto, Kanamang, Kawagdan, Cardema, Kari, Castelo, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Maria Laarni, Chungalaw, Ko, Angelica Natasha, Ko Elizaldi, Coangco, Kua, De Jesus, Defensor Michael, Duavit, Duhali, Ebcas, Erice, Ermita Buhain, Espino, Fariñas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzales, Sandro, Haresco, Kongun, Liachon, Malatitan, Mangawang, Mangodadatu, Marcoleta, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Oaminal, Ong Jose, Ordanes, Pacquiao Alberto, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Revilla, Rivera, Roman, Romero, Roque, Salceda, Saulog, Siao, Silverio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves, Arnolfo, Torres Gomez, Tupas, T. Alan, Unabia, Uy Juliet, Veloso, Villa, Villaferte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza, Suarez, Villarica, Nyap Victor.
With 195 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 9850 is approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration on third reading of House Bill number 9884 for the Secretary General to read the title of the measure and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting. So move, Mr. Speaker.
The Secretary General is requested to read the title of House Bill 9884 and to proceed with the nominal voting. May na-miss ka isa.
House Bill number 9884, an act regulating the use and other activities related to vintage automobiles and other historical, classic, or collector motor vehicles, and providing for the exemption from the standards and restrictions set by law enacted and regulations adopted after the date of their manufacture. Roll call of members in consideration on third reading of House Bill number 9884. Abante, Abaya, Villanosa, Abu, Abeg, Saldivar, Abunda, Acosta, Costa Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez, France, Alvarez, Senaro, Alvarez, Pantaleon. Amante, Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentada, Babasa, Bagating, Balindong, Baños Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barsaga, Bascug, Bautista, Bautista, Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilia, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulot, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabochan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro France, Castro Fredinil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Mariela Arni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizalde, Co Juanco, Colliantes, Crisologo, Cuwa, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, De Maporo Abdullah, De Maporo Khalid, Duavit Duhali, Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian, Ebka Secleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhayin, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Fentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Goed, Gomark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Gico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D. Hofer, Halosos, Javier Jimenez, Ko Eliza, Ko Wilton, Kunghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Liachon, Legarda, Lim, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan, Nolasco, Nunez Malanaon, Uwaminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Sieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Angcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulug, Savellano, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Swansing Estrelita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, si Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alaisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherni, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva, Eduardo, Villanueva, Noel, Villar, Villarada, Suarez, Villarica, Violago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Baikorat, Zarate, and Zubiri. Second call for consideration on third reading of House Bill number 9984. Abaya, Villanosa, Abunda, Acosta, Agaraw, Albano, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amatong, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentada, Bagatsing, Baños Nograles, Barsaga, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bulot, Bustos, Cabuchan, Canama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Marila Arni, Chungalao, Co Angelica, Co Elizalde, Co Juanco, Cuwa, De Jesus, Defensor Michael, Duavit, Duhali, Ebcas, Erice, Ermita Buhain, Espino, Fariñas Rudy, Cesar Fernandez, Fernando Flores, Fortun, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Goed, Gonzales Zandro, Haresco, Kunghun, Liachon, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marcoleta, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles, Juan, Uaminal, Ong Jose, Ordanes, Pacquiao Alberto, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Revilla, Rivera, Roman, Romero, Roque, Salceda, Saulug, Xiao, Silverio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, Si Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherni, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Torres Gomez, Tupas, T. Alan, Unabia, Uy Juliet, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Yap Victor.
With 193 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 6 abstentions, House Bill number 9884 is hereby approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the consideration and third reading of House Bill number 9852. For this purpose, I request that Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill. So move, Mr. Speaker. And thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting. So move, Mr. Speaker.
The Secretary General is requested. Please proceed.
House Bill number 9852, an act institutionalizing the conduct of summer youth camp in every barangay and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill number 9852 on third reading. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Abweg, Saldivar, Abunda, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Agdipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Senaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matbam, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bulilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Kabotchan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Cawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Maria Laarni, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalaw, Co. Angelica, Co. Elizalde, Cojuangco, Collantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagook, Dadipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Loso Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit Duhali Duterte, Di Faustino Ino, Di Faustino Michael, Di Ian, Ubcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhayin, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudis, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer, Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Pentebella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Casataya, Gatchalian, Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halosos, Javier Jimenez, Co Elisa, Co Wilton, Honggun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lacson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Leachon, Legarda, Lim, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Magudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza, Mercado, Momo, Natividad Naganyo, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan Videl, Nolasco, Nunez Malañaon, Uaminal, Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Sieda, Romualdo Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Sangcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Savellanos, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Sonsing Estrelita, Sonsing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay Si Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alaisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Shari, Tan Sherney, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Teves Jose, Chanco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano Valmayor Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villaferte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Vilago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor Yu, Zamora Ronaldo, Zamora Waikurat, Zarate, and Zubiri. Second call in consideration and third reading of House Bill number 852. Abaya, Abellanosa, Abunda, Acosta, Agaraw, Albano, Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amatong, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bagatsing, Baños Nograles, Barzaga, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bulut, Bustos, Cabotchan, Kanama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Cayetano, Alan Peter, Cayetano, Maria Laarni, Chungalaw, Ko, Angelica, Natasha, Ko Elizaldi, Coangco, Kua, Jesus, Defensor Michael, Duavit, Duhali, Ebcas, Erice, Ermita Buhain, Espino, Fariñas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Fortun, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garin, Sharon, Casataya, Go, Ed, Christopher, Gonzales, Sandro, Haresco, Kongun, Leachon, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marcoleta, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Uaminal, Ong Jose, Ordanes, Pacquiao Alberto, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Revilla, Rivera, Roman Romero, Roque, Salceda, Saulog, Xiao, Silverio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, Si Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherny, Tejada, Teves Arnolfo, Torres Gomez Tupas, T. Allen, Unabia, Uy Juliet, Veloso, Villa, Villafuerte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villarazo Suarez, Villarica, Yap Victor.
With 200 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 abstentions, House Bill number 9852 is approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that for the consideration on third and final reading of House Bill 10015 and for the purpose, I move that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill and thereafter to call the roll for nominal voting. I so move.
Secretary General, you may proceed.
House Bill number 10015, an act designating the national music competitions for young artists as the National Youth Development Program for Music, defining its role and functions and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call of members in consideration of House Bill 10015 on third reading. Abante, Abaya, Abellanosa, Abu, Obweg Saldivar, Abunda, Acosta, Costa Alba, Adyong, Advincula, Agabas, Agaraw, Aglipay, Aguinaldo, Albano, Almario, Alonte, Alvarez Franz, Alvarez Senaro, Alvarez Pantaleon, Amante Matba, Amatong, Angara, Aragones, Arbison, Arenas, Arroyo, Atienza, Aumentado, Babasa, Bagatsing, Balindong, Banyas Nograles, Barba, Barbers, Baronda, Barzaga, Baskug, Bautista, Bautista Bandigan, Belmonte, Benitez, Bernos, Biazon, Billones, Biron, Bolilla, Bondok, Bordado, Bravo, Brosas, Bulut, Bustos, Kabatbat, Cabotchan, Cabredo, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto, Caminero, Campos, Canama, Kawagdan, Cardema, Cari, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Predenil, Cayetano Alan Peter, Cayetano Maria Lardi, Celeste, Chato, Chipeco, Chungalaw, Co, Angelica, Co Elizaldi, Coangco, Colyantes, Crisologo, Cua, Quaresma, Cueva, Culyamat, Dagoc, Daliped, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, Defensor Lawrence, Defensor Michael, De Los Santos, De Los Montalia, Dimaporo Abdullah, Dimaporo Khalid, Duavit, Duhali, Duterte, D. Faustino Ino, D. Faustino Michael, D. Ian, Ebcas, Ecleo, Elago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Fariñas Ria, Fariñas Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Ferrer, Juliet, Ferrer, Luis, Flores, Fortun, Fortuno, Frasco, Pentabella, Gaite, Garbin, Garcia Jose Enrique, Garcia Pablo Jan, Garcia Vincent, Garin Janet, Garin Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian Gato, Heron, Go Ed, Go Mark, Gonzaga, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Neptali, Gonzales Sandro, Goriseta, Guico, Gulias, Guya, Haresco, Hataman, Hernandez, Herrera D, Hofer, Halosos, Javier Jimenez, Ko Elisa, Ko Wilton, Kongun, Labad-Labad, Lakson, Lakson Noel, Lagman, Lagon, Lara, Lazatin, Leachon, Legarda, Lim Kaichong, Lopez, Loyola, Lusotan, Macapagal Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Mangawang, Mangudadatu, Marcoleta, Mariano Hernandez, Marino, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Matugas, Mendoza Mercado, Momo, Natividad Nagaño, Nava Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Juan, Nolasco Nunez Malañaon, Uaminal Olivares, Ong Jose, Ong Ronnie, Ordanes, Ortega, Uano, Dizon, Pacquiao Alberto, Pacquiao Rogelio, Padiernos, Paduano, Palma, Pancho. Panotes, Peña, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Puno, Kimbo, Radaza, Ramirez Sato, Remulla, Revilla, Reyes, Rivera, Robes, Rodriguez, Roman, Romero, Romualdez Ferdinand, Romualdez Sieda, Romualdo, Romulo, Roque, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sakaluran, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Sanchez, Angcopan, Santos Recto, Sarmiento, Saulog, Severiano, Siao, Silverio, Singson, Singson Mihan, Sinsuat, Sonsing Estrellita, Sonsing Horacio, Suarez Aleta, Suarez David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Talyado, Tambunting, Tan Alisa, Tan Angelina, Tan Samir, Tan Sheri, Tan Sherni, Tejada, Teves, Arnolfo, Teves, Jose, Tiangco, Tolentino, Torres Gomez, Tulfo, Tupas, Tutor, T. Alan, T. Diego, Umali Alfonso, Umali Maria Victoria, Unabia, Ungab, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Valeriano, Valmayor, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Velasco, Veloso, Vergara, Villa, Villaferte, Villanueva Eduardo, Villanueva Noel, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Biolago, Yap Eric, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora, Ronaldo, Zamora, Waikurat, Zarate, and Zubiri. Second call in consideration and third reading of House Bill number 10015. Abaya, Abellanosa, Abunda, Acosta, Agaraw, Albano, Alvarez, Pantaleon, Amatong, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bagatsing, Baños Nograles, Barzaga, Bernos, Billones, Biron, Bulot, Bustos, Cabochan, Kanama, Coagdan, Cardema, Kahari, Castelo, Cayetano, Alan Peter, Cayetano, Maria Larni, Chungalaw, Ko, Angelica Natasha, Ko, Elizalde, Coanco, Cuwa, De Jesus, Defensor Michael, Duavit, Duhali, Eb Cacerice, Ermita Buhayin, Espino, Fariñas, Rudy Cesar, Fernandez, Fernando, Flores, Fortun, Garbin, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Garin Sharon, Casataya, Go Ed Christopher, Gonzales, Sandro, Aresco, Congundiachon, Mangawang, Mangudadato, Marcoleta, Marquez, Martinez, Matba, Mendoza, Mercado, Nograles, Juan Fidel, Umaminal, Hong Jose, Ordanes, Pacquiao, Alberto, Pichay, Pineda, Revilla, Rivera, Roman, Romero, Roque, Salceda, Saulog, Xiao, Silverio, Suarez, Aleta, Suarez, David, Suntay, C. Alvarado, Taduran, Tan Samir, Tan Sharian, Tan Sherni, Tejada, Teves, Arnolfo, Torres Gomez, Tupas, T. Alan, Unabia, Uy, Juliet, Veloso, Villa, Villaferte, Villanueva, Eduardo, Villanueva, Noel, Villar, Villaraza, Suarez, Villarica, Yap, Victor.
With 201 members voting in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, House Bill number 10015 is hereby approved on third and final reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we direct the Secretary General to immediately transmit to the Senate all approved House Bill on third and final reading. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Are there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we now proceed with the additional reference of business and request that the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill's resolution on first reading as well as communication and committee reports. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary General.
Additional reference of business, bills on first reading, House Bill number 10118, establishing an academic recovery and accessible learning program by Representative Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 10119, renaming the Literacy Coordinating Council to the National Literacy Council, strengthening its powers and functions, streamlining its membership structure, providing its local support mechanisms, by Representative Gatchalian.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 10120, increasing compensation of social workers in government service, by Representative Benitez.
To the Committee on Social Services.
House Bill number 10126, providing for the protection of barangay health workers for continued health services, by Representative Co Angelica.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill number 10127, providing for a national housing development production and financing program, regularizing its appropriation for its implementation, by Representative Noel.
To the Committee on Housing and Urban Development.
House Bill number 10128, renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to the West Wind Broadcasting Corporation by Representative Hofer.
To the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
House Bill number 10129, developing the inabel industry in the municipalities of Bantay, Kawayan, Santo Domingo, Santa Maria, Santiago, San Emilio, Tagudin, and City of Vigan in the province of Ilocos Sur, creating for the purpose an inabel research and development center, establishing an inabel industry subsidy fund, designating these places as Inabel Center of the Philippines by Representative
To
Saveliano.
the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill number 10130, establishing an agricultural pension fund to provide pension benefits to farmers and fisherfolk by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill number 10131, prioritizing domestically manufactured vehicles and public procurement by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill number 10132, exempting donations and rewards in favor of Olympic medalists and their coaches from taxes by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill number 10133, expanding the objectives of the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act to ensure the safe mobility of vaccinated individuals locally and internationally, to encourage vaccine confidence and ultimately to spur economic growth by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 10134, establishing the Libmanan Test, the Training and Assessment Center in Libmanan, Camarines Sur by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill number 10135, enhancing the patient's right to medical expense transparency and preventing unexpected medical bills by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 10136, declaring the maritime zones under the jurisdiction of the Republic of the Philippines by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
House Bill number 10137, providing for stricter enforcement in the construction, installation, and maintenance of public safety signages by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill number 10138, declaring the 8th day of May of every year as a special working holiday all over the country to honor the PUV drivers by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill number 10139, strengthening the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill number 10140, establishing living facilities for public school teachers by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 10141, regulating the use of bank accounts and e-wallets and prohibiting the use thereof for unusual and suspicious financial activity by Representative Villafuerte.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
House Bill number 10145, exempting from tax all donations, grants, endowments, or contributions used actually directly and exclusively for government's youth and sports development programs and sports competitions. Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill number 10146, establishing an academic recovery and accessible learning program by Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 10147, recognizing the role of the members of the CES in effectively upholding, pursuing, and maintaining good governance and accountability in public service. Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Civil Service, Professional Regulation.
House Bill 10148, prioritizing domestically manufactured vehicles in public procurement. Representative Tambunting.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill number 10149, renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Air Philippines Corporation. Representative Kua.
To the Committee on Legislative Franchise.
House Bill 10150, appropriating 100 million pesos for the construction of a state-of-the-art Dr. Jose Rizal Theater of the Arts and Culture in the Pitan City, Zamboanga del Norte. Representative Haloshos.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 10151, establishing the state-of-the-art Dr. Jose Rizal Eye Center, integrating its medical services within Dr. Jose Rizal Memorial Hospital in the Pitan City, Zamboanga del Norte. Representative Haloshos.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 10153, appropriating funds for the operation of the government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2022. Representatives Yap, Eric Velasco, Romualdez Martin, Ermita Buhain, Salceda, Cua, Cuangco, Tejada, Violago, Vargas, Gasataya, C. Alvarado, Halusos, Swansing, Horacio, Matugas, Garcia, Jose Enrique, Gonzaga, Biazon, Nunez, Malañaon, Paresco, Quaresma, Uy, Juliet, Reyes, Daza, Limcaychong, Subiri, Sagarbaria, Bautista Bandigan, Calderon, Duavit, Daliped, Campos, Suarez, David, Go, Ed, Gonzales, Fariñas, Rudis, Momo Frasco Zamora Waicurat, Vargas Alfonso, Tan Alisa, T. Diego Revilla Tambunting, D. Faustino Ino, Bravo Silverio Cabredo Caminero Plaza Bascug, Ong Jose Uy Rolando Yu Abunda, Dimaporo Khalid, Salimbangon Labad-Labad Hofer Pacquiao Rogelio Sakdalan, Villarica Roman Pariñas Ria Nava Espina Malapitan, Vergara Duhali Espino Cardema Tiangco Jose Gomez, Torres Gomez Cari Acosta Benitez Natividad Nagaño Uano Dizon Talyado, Fortuno Dalog Villar Barbab Celeste Guico, Bernos Mariño Conggun Gullas Goriseta Biron, Tutor Arbison Javier Caugdan Lagon Ong Roni, De Los Santos Santos Sanchez, Angara Tan Angelina Villa Villanueva Noel Agabas Tungalaw, Maceda de los Montalia Bulot D. Ian Lopez Pentebella Jimenez, Abeg Saldivar Dimaporo Abdullah Ortega D. Faustino Michael Amante Matba Albano Balindong N. Baronda.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
Resolutions. House Resolution number 2192, honoring and commending the Metrobank Foundation Outstanding Filipinos of 2021, Representative Kua.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution 2193, strongly urging the DILG, DOH, and LGUs to institute policies, proper guidelines, and mechanisms for the retention and continued service of barangay health workers in the interest of the people's health and general welfare.
To the
Representative Co. Angelica.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Resolution 2194, strongly commending and thanking private individuals and organizations who provided generous incentives to all Philippine athletes who competed in the Tokyo Olympics. Representative Sabeliano.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Resolution 2195, urging the organizers of the UAAP and NCAA to include boxing and weightlifting as added sports areas on the annual competitions of the leagues. Representative Sabeliano.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Resolution 2196, urging the House through the Committee on Human Rights to investigate and issue condemnation on the abduction, disappearance, and death of Cebu-based development worker Elena Tijamo. Representatives Kulyamat, Zarate, Gaite, Brosas, Castro Franz, and Elago.
To the Committee on Rules.
Communications, letters and emails from certain municipal mayors, city mayors, provincial governor, and other local government officials informing the House of their reports on fund utilization and status of programs, projects, activities, implementation relative to Bayanihan grant to cities, municipalities, provinces, and LGUs for certain months of 2021.
To the Committee on Ways and Means. To the Committee on Appropriations.
Letter dated August 3, 2021 from the City Mayor, City of Tandag, Province of Surigao del Sur, informing the House that their fiscal year 2021 first and second quarter reports on the use of the local government share in the proceeds of national taxes were posted in their website.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
Letters dated August 4, 9, 13, and 16, 2021 of the Deputy Director of the Office of the General Counsel and Legal Services, BSP, transmitting to the House duly certified copies of the certain BSP issuances.
To the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries.
Committee reports, report number 1191 of the Committee on Legislative Franchises on House Bill 10152, report number 1192 of the Committees on Science and Technology and Appropriations on House Bill 10154, report number 1193 of the Committee on Cooperatives Development on House Resolution number 2199.
The aforementioned committee reports are all referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Bill 10107 as contained in Committee Report number 1179 submitted by the Committee on Creative Industry and Performing Arts. And may I request the Secretary General be directed to read the title of the bill?
Sir, anong kailangan basahin? Sir, anong
1170.
Secretary General.
House Bill number 10107, an act providing for the promotion and development of the Philippine creative industries and appropriating funds therefore.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
The Honorable De Venecia is recognized for his sponsorship speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, on behalf of the Special Committee on Creative Industry and Performing Arts and the Arts, Culture, and Creative Industries Block of the 18th Congress or ACHIB, isang malikhaing pagbati po sa inyong lahat. As the country continues to battle the onslaught of COVID-19, one sector in our economy is at a crossroads. And I believe that the decision we will make on this very occasion will affect what our economy will look like for the years to come as we recover from the current crisis. The Philippine creative sector, which comprises at least 50 creative industries, is, I believe, at the cusp of two extreme possibilities. It will either fall through the cracks and drop further in the government's priorities, or emerge as one of the best in the world. And in the case of the latter, I believe that this sector has the greatest potential of helping our country get back on its feet. The shock of the pandemic was immediately felt by the sector, and many of the effects persist up to this day. Live events were the first to be canceled, erasing 70% of live music's revenue streams, and practically the entirety of the performing arts industries, which highly depend on ticket revenues and mass gatherings inside crowded venues for their income. With the closure of malls and physical establishments, the chains went up on cinemas as well. While the food and beverage industries were able to quickly pivot through deliveries, the technology for which being already in place, even pre-pandemic. The same cannot be said of the film and entertainment industries. Streaming platforms have largely favored foreign content, and unlike food, film can be and has notoriously been pirated. Tinawag nyo kaming non-essential, laments Alex Calleja, one of the country's top comedians who is now out of a job and depends on online rackets every now and then for his livelihood. And while it was easier for them to transition to online platforms, bookstores and museums also took a large hit, with many of them ultimately closing shop already over the past year and a half. On the other hand, it is through people's creativity that society has remained somewhat sane. As one of our stakeholders from the live event sector, J. Adlau Block, has asked us, can you imagine a creative blackout? A life or even a day without creative content? Just how sad and miserable would that be? It's a thought experiment that has made me realize even more how essential the creative sector is. On social media and on streaming platforms, creative content abound. These platforms have been big, especially for film and theater producers, actors, and workers who lost the cinema and the stage to COVID. While stakeholders don't earn as much in reruns as they did in theatrical releases and ticket selling, these shows mean everything to us consumers and help us achieve work-life balance and maintain sanity during a difficult phase of our lives. The pandemic also gave way to the release of Trece on Netflix, which has been dubbed as the blueprint for IP ecology and development of future Filipino intellectual property. Filipino creatives are starting to get back on their feet, producing not only entertaining creative content, but award-winning and critically acclaimed ones. The Cordillera Regional Science High School Glee Club of La Trinidad Benguet bagged awards at the 8th Bali International Choir Festival in Indonesia. The 2021 World Architecture Festival and World Festival of Interiors saw the emergence of Filipino professional designers as big winners, including Buji Plus Royal Architecture Plus Design, Alero Design Studio, Buensalido Architects, WTA Architecture and Design Studio, Carlo Calma Consultancy, Habulan and NGO Design Studio or HANDS, and Jorge Yulo Architects and Associates. Phil-Am artist Her won at the Grammys. Gigil won at the 2021 Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity for its work. The Manila Symphony Junior Orchestra were held as victors at the World Orchestra Festival in Vienna. And Filipino chef Johan C., who hails from Dagupan City in my district, was crowned Female Chef of the Year last May at the World Gourmet Awards 2021 in Singapore. Creative freelancing has likewise picked up where it left off pre-pandemic and is now seen as the next key business process outsourcing sector, with around 1.5 million Filipinos already on international online platforms for freelancing services, majority of which constitutes creative work such as web design and multimedia content and editing. Animation studios that serve foreign producers, for example, are now refusing contracts and are up to 90% efficiency rates, even as our talented and sought-after animators work from home. Creatives, Mr. Speaker, are essential. Filipino creatives are resilient. Can you imagine how much more they can achieve with government recognition and support? Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, the journey to this podium was not easy, and understandably so. Less than 2 years ago, many of us had not even encountered the term creative industries, myself included. Fast forward to the President's sauna this year, when every member of Congress physically present on the floor, as well as senators and other high-ranking officials in government, proudly donned their "The Future is Creative" pins on top of their Filipiniana outfits. And of course, you have to thank the Communication Design Association of the Philippines for this. I must say that awareness of these industries grew fast in little time. There are four prominent definitions of the creative industries that the world has been using, and even deciding which to adapt for the Philippine Creative Industries Development Bill was a democratic and deliberative process. The World Intellectual Property Office, or the WIPO, uses the copyright model, which distinguishes between industries that actually produce the intellectual property and those that are necessary to convey the goods and services to the consumer. So for WIPO, there are core copyright industries, interdependent copyright industries, and partial copyright industries. UNESCO, or the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, calls the process of creativity as the cultural cycle, which involves all the practices, activities, and resources needed to transform ideas into cultural goods and services that are then consumed. This involves 5 stages: creation, production, dissemination, exhibition, reception or transmission, and consumption or participation. The UNCTAD, or UN Conference on Trade and Development approach to the creative industries relies on enlarging the concept of creativity from activities having a strong artistic component to any economic activity producing a symbolic product with a heavy reliance on intellectual property and for as wide a market as possible. The UNCTAD also recognizes the creative industry value chain, which involves 4 different stages: the creation or conception stage, the production or reproduction, marketing and distribution, and consumption. According to NEDA researcher Dr. Monet Serafica and other private sector stakeholders who participated in our committee hearings, among the 3 models, it is the UNCTAD classification and nomenclature that is most appropriate for the Philippine context. Finally, the United Kingdom's Department of Culture, Media and Sports, or DCMS, defines creative industries as those industries which have their origin in individual creativity, skill, and talent, and which have a potential for wealth and job creation through the generation and exploitation of intellectual property. After hearing from our resource persons, we adopted the DCMS definition and the UNCTAD classification, being the most apt for our country's context. Out of this definition and classification, we have been able to identify more than 50 industries that may be classified under 9 strategic developmental domains, namely audiovisual media, digital interactive media, creative services, design, publishing and printed media, visual arts, performing arts, cultural sites, and traditional cultural expressions. Although there are different ways of identifying and classifying the creative industries, ultimately, And as the UNCTAD notes, what matters is how the concept is used as a growth and development strategy. Defining and scoping the creative industries, Mr. Speaker and dear colleagues, is the first step to developing them. We cannot grow what we don't know. Nonetheless, previous efforts have been made to measure the impact of creative industries to the economy. Based on 2019 data, the estimate is that the sector comprises 4.8 million creative Filipinos, or 11.3% of total employment. This includes employees and freelancers. It has historically registered a 12% annual growth rate as per the Census of Philippine Business and Industry, or CPBI. Per the WIPO and IPOPhil study in 2014, the copyright-based industries, or the creative industries, contributed 7.34% to GDP. 30.5% of total establishments are in the creative sector as of 2019. It had a 7.12% value add of covered establishments as of 2018. And it has been estimated to have reduced youth poverty by 14.7% in 2018, as jobs in the creative sector are varied, diverse, and more inclusive and accessible to youth and to women, according to UNESCO. I think it is safe to say that with these figures, we have not been wasting time in looking into this untapped potential. Marami na pong nagawa para sa ating bayan ang creative industries, kahit na hindi pa natin ito nabigyan ng tamang atensyon at prioritization historically. Apart from the already difficult task of understanding the definition and scope of the creative industries, there was an even more complex effort to delineate it from existing cultural policies, and I thank all the members who made this effort possible. According to Paulo Mercado of the Creative Economy Council of the Philippines, a private sector group that has been fighting for recognition of creativity in the economy for years now, many people confuse the creative industries with the promotion of Filipino art, culture, and heritage. While a creative economy policy includes support for these sectors, as it also affects cultural dissemination, it also supports commercial media, functional design, science, technology, and innovation. He adds that the differences between cultural policies and creative economy policies go deeper. Cultural policies seek to define, protect, and promote the tangible and intangible expressions that define who we are as a people. There are existing laws that support culture, such as RA 7356, which created the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, or the NCCA, and RA 10066, or the National Cultural Heritage Act, which seeks to protect heritage sites and buildings from destructive development. So while the circles of cultural policy and creative industry policy overlap on a number of occasions, there are many issues of the creative industries that existing laws do not yet cover. The Creative Industries Development Plan and the Council that would implement the same will take on, quote, the difficult task of governing or managing the delicate relationship between the two values, economic and cultural. This was how the cultural economist David Throsby described the creative industries, as cited by Dr. May Zuleika Salao. However, I believe that it is better to plan ahead for this challenging dialectic rather than responding to issues as they sprout and become viral on our social media timelines. Comparing the NCCA's charter with the proposed powers of the Creative Industries Development Council, as opposed in this bill, there are clear delineations between the two entities. The NCCA has the mandate of ensuring, quote, the widest dissemination of artistic and cultural products among the greatest number across the country and overseas for their appreciation and enjoyment. However, the Creative Industry Development Council, chaired by the DTI, will take a different approach, as it is mandated to, quote, define economic goals and key performance indicators for the creative industries, including value creation, contribution to gross domestic product, or GDP, job creation, export targets, and creative intellectual property targets. While the NCCA is also mandated to help establish and develop, quote, an intensified arts education program at all levels of the educational system, public and private, to ensure meaningful arts integration across the school curriculum. The Council takes this further as it is given the duty to analyze, quote, current and emerging trends and changes in technology, trade, consumption, demography, environment, health that impacts the labor market for creative talent. As a third distinction, I'd like to highlight the contrast between the NCCA's mandate to, quote, undertake a systematic collection of statistical and other data which reflects the state of cultural conditions in the country, to serve as essential quantitative and qualitative basis for formulating cultural policies, which has been implemented through the Philippine Cultural Statistics Framework, or the PCSF, as opposed to the Council's forthcoming duty to set up a satellite account in coordination with the Philippine Statistics Authority. A satellite account under the PSA would fall under the bigger umbrella of the Philippine Standard Industrial Classification, or the PSIC, which is a detailed classification of industries prevailing in the country according to the kind of productive activities undertaken by establishments. The country will be better equipped to measure economic data such as GDP and jobs contributed by using existing frameworks under the PSA. Also, as a way to compare the creative sector vis-a-vis other sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and services. More significantly, the NCCA has mandates that will remain exclusive to it, especially those that concern the conservation and preservation of the nation's historical and cultural heritage, encourage and support the study, recognition, and preservation of endangered human cultural resources such as weavers, chanters, dancers, and other craftsmen, as well as the conservation and development of such artistic, linguistic, and occupational skills that are threatened with extinction. In sum, the NCCA must continually safeguard our past, while the Creative Council ensures that we do not fall behind for the future, both of which playing a significant and vital role in our creative and cultural present. It goes without saying, Mr. Speaker and dear colleagues, that these two streams of policymaking must be harmonized at all times, and we are confident that this can be achieved with the inclusion of the NCCA in the Council itself. The creative industries also embrace a digital economy that's been ripe for the picking, an area that our existing cultural policies cannot accommodate. According to a 2020 study by Google, Temasek, and Bain, the Philippines' digital economy slightly grew from 7.1 billion US dollars in 2019 to 7.5 billion US dollars in 2020, notwithstanding the pandemic. In fact, as early as 2019, Filipinos spent roughly 15.5 billion pesos on online purchases, according to the National Information and Communications Technology Household Survey. A third of this was spent on clothing, a fifth on household goods, and a tenth on electronics and cosmetics. He also found that Filipinos earned an average monthly income of about 4,500 pesos doing online selling. The most common products sold online were clothing, cosmetics, and food. All of these illustrate an active digital economy in the Philippines. Citing an even more recent phenomenon, the blockchain-based play-to-earn app Axie Infinity, though created in Vietnam, is actually made up of 400,000 Filipino daily active users, or 40% of the total 1 million daily active users. With the word economy moving at such a fast pace, largely driven by human innovation and creativity, the only way our country can keep up while still protecting our cultural heritage is through a divide and conquer strategy. On the one hand, we must continuously support the NCCA and our cultural agencies in their efforts to protect, preserve, and disseminate culture. On the other hand, a new governance and development framework must emerge to put Filipinos in their rightful place as leading creative and innovative thinkers in both the domestic and global stage. Malayo na po ang narating natin, Mr. Speaker. We have flipped the script from wrongly designating creative establishments and workers as, quote, non-essential. We have proudly stated that the future is creative in a span of a year and a half. And that is all thanks to everyone's collective vision, cumulative efforts, and openness to an important shift of mindset. If I may just share, Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, I have friends coming up to me excited, saying thank you to our efforts because they can now dream of their newborn babies or 5-year-olds eventually being able to pursue creative jobs in the future. I also have friends in the creative industries who started the pandemic on very low spirits, but are now jolted to work on their craft again, partly due to this new movement that this Congress, under the leadership of Speaker Lord Alan Velasco, has helped shape. While it is true that the Filipino creatives and artists have succeeded with very little government support all these years, I think things are about to change. However, I have to admit things have to change fast. While Filipinos continue to love Hollywood and Western content, and of course recently, in a massive way, Korean content, it won't be long before our country's own consumers start getting into Indonesian, Vietnamese, Malaysian, Thai content. This is because our ASEAN neighbors are a step ahead in creative industries policy making and programming. In 2019, Indonesia reorganized its creative economy agency and recombined it with its Ministry of Tourism. The objective of the reorganization is to achieve synergies in country branding and promotions, creative cities, and tourism development, and the upliftment of traditional arts and crafts that benefit from the tourism market. For 2021, their legislative body had approved a budget ceiling equivalent to 17 billion pesos for the ministry alone as a stimulus to jumpstart their economy. Going further back, in 2018, the Thailand Creative and Design Center had already been recognized and reorganized into the Creative Economy Agency of Thailand, with the main objective of promoting and developing the creative economy and its enabling factors in order to push forward the development and improvement of the whole Thai economy. And as early as 2012, My Creative Ventures, which is the Malaysian government's investment arm, was launched to spur Malaysia's creative industry via strategic and innovative funding through debt or equity investments in Malaysian creative companies. And so while we celebrate this milestone, we also feel obligated to keep the fire burning and keep the pressure on so that our country's creative class can catch up with the rest of the region. We might miss this window, Mr. Speaker, much like how we missed the manufacturing ship which had sailed a long time ago. The creative industry ship is revving up as well. And the more we delay our efforts, the more catching up we would need to do. Industry leaders agree that indeed the future is creative. Our own Committee on Ways and Means chairperson Joey Salceda has dubbed this movement as an innovative approach that anticipates the impacts of creativity on industry dynamics on other related industries such as tourism. And I graciously thank him for his foresight and for being a future thinker, having anticipated the importance of our creative industries in the country's Build Back Better during the deliberations on the Freelancer Bill and the Bayanihan 2. Trade and Industry Secretary Mon Lopez had said that we cannot ignore the many opportunities that abound in the creative economy. And for not only can it serve as the engine of our economy's growth, it can also assist in the recovery from the challenges brought about by the pandemic. SecMon has likewise envisioned the creative industries as the next service industry winner next to the BPO sector. We also received from the Regional Development Council, Region 11, or Davao Region, Resolution number 13, Series of 2021, urging Congress to fast-track the passage of the Philippine Creative Industries Development Bill as a way for the country to, quote, respond to the fourth industrial revolution with innovation and creativity as main drivers of growth. On multiple occasions, the Joint Foreign Chambers of the Philippines, which is composed of chambers of commerce from America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Europe, Japan, Korea, and the Philippine Association of Multinationals Companies, has expressed its support for the bill. The JFC represents over 3,000 member companies engaged in around $100 billion worth of trade and some $30 billion worth of investments in the Philippines. The chambers have placed the measure in their top 10 landmark reforms. Thank you so much, guys. The Artists Welfare Project, Inc., or AUPI, considered the measure, such as the bill, quote, long awaited in the context of strong development of our regional neighbors, globalization, and the continued cultural developments in the Philippines. The Communication Design Association of the Philippines shared its strong support for the bill to develop and promote the country's creative industries and build a strong creative nation. The Creative Economy Council of the Philippines expressed its strong support for the Creative Industries Bill, further stating its hope that this bill will help us all work together to, quote, build a strong creative nation. The Cebu Furniture Industries Foundation, Inc., representing 70 companies in the province of Cebu and its neighboring provinces, has commended this August chamber for the initiative to develop and institutionalize the government support for the Philippine creative industries. The National Live Events Coalition, representing over 40,000 businesses and 400,000 workers nationwide, expressed support for the bill as well. The Philippine Fashion Coalition also envisions the bill as not only benefiting current professionals of the creative industry, but also future creative professionals as being the best in the world. I also commend the aforementioned organizations for coalescing and forming a bigger umbrella of artists and creators called the Creative Industries Philippines, which was formed just in the middle of this year to link all the creative stakeholders from all industries. We have had engaging conversations and consultations with this group and have been able to reach more stakeholders through promotional efforts, gathering not only support for the bill, but also constructive criticism that has helped us improve the measure as best we could, keeping in mind its primary purpose. We also appreciate the concerned artists of the Philippines, or CAP, and that they have welcomed this urgent initiative from the House of Representatives to respond to the needs of artists and other constituents in the Philippine cultural sector. And we thank them for their inputs as well, which have been considered for the bill or for a separate piece of legislation that Achieve shall craft in the coming days in partnership with the private sector. We have likewise received affirmation of the DTI, the main implementer of the bill, that the measure will be used to grow MSMEs in a strategic fashion. Be that as it may, it is precisely the objective of this measure to provide a new democratic space for creatives towards a continuing conversation around the creative industries and its present and future contributions to society. And what creatives have yearned for all these years is representation. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, the members of both the Special Committee and the Arts and Culture and Creative Industries Bloc, or ACHIB, have worked tirelessly and have all contributed so that we may reach this point in our legislative history, when finally the Filipinos' creativity can be recognized for their real value to the economy and contribution to society. Special shoutouts are in order to Vice Chairs Kiko Benitez, Leanda Bolilla, and Edward Vera Perez Maceda, as well as Kong Sharon Garin and Stella Kimbo for all the valuable input they've had on this bill. Of course, we also give thanks to Yusek Fita Aldaba and her whole team, ED Pauline Suaco-Juan of SITEM, ED Ria Matute of Design Center, and Paolo Mercado of the Creative Economy Council of the Philippines for their input and for spearheading this initiative even long before we in Achieve came along with Kong Joey Salceda of Ways and Means and Kong Eric Yap of Appropriations, and of course, under the leadership of Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Together, we have truly achieved. Everyone's buy-in, especially from creatives, is important. What the Creative Industries Development Bill merely puts up can be likened to a bare condominium, an apartment without any furniture or design. It will be the combined efforts of the executive branch and the private sector stakeholders who will shape what this piece of real estate will look like. They will agree at times, maybe disagree, then compromise. But what's important is that the creative agenda is on the table. The United Nations recognizes that after more than a year of pandemic-induced lockdowns, there could not be a better time to appreciate the creative economy. In fact, the UN has declared 2021 as the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. Truthfully, it is hard to imagine how we would have survived and coped this past year without music to listen to, films and shows to watch, or art to appreciate. Thus, Mr. Speaker and my dear colleagues, let us work together in giving our many creative industries the support and recognition they deserve. A creative future should not be left to chance. It is planned, not dreamed. It is organized, not whimsical. It is taken seriously and not treated as an afterthought. After all, a creative future is safe, sustainable, and happy for all. Because truly, Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, hashtag the future is creative. Thank you.
Thank you to the distinguished representative of Pangasinan, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the next to deliver the sponsorship speech, I move that we recognize the lady from Port District, Batangas, Deputy Majority Leader Leanda P. Bolilla.
Ma'am, you're recognized. Is it via Zoom?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, my esteemed colleagues in the House of Representatives, good afternoon. I am here to proudly support House Bill number 10107, also known as the Philippine Creative Industries Development Act. Creativity runs deep in our culture that stretches back to our pre-colonial forebears, from the intricate details of Balarao, a dagger that is finely worked with precious metals, ivory, and horn, to the pre-colonial writing system that a Spanish magistrate wrote in 1609 to quote, "Throughout the islands, the natives write very well using their letters. All the natives, women as well as men, write in this language, and there are very few who do not write well and correctly." To shipbuilding that enabled our ancestors to navigate open waters and even conduct regular and annual expeditions similar to the Vikings in other parts of Southeast Asia. The Karakoa sailing vessels were equipped with platforms for transporting warriors and were mounted with bronze lantaka or ship cannons. To sophisticated gold jewelry making as depicted in the Boxer Codex, a manuscript Boxer Codex written in 1950 with colored drawings of ethnic groups in the Philippines and now under the possession of the Indiana University. The Codex shows that gold was plentiful in the Philippines, that our ancestors mastered gold working and exquisitely demonstrated the skillful mastery of metallurgy and chemistry and artistic expressions. The Surigao Gold Treasure, now in the Ayala Museum, affirms the unprecedented creativity, prosperity, and sophisticated metalworking tradition of the pre-colonial Philippines. And to the indigenous textiles and accessories, such as the geometric designs of the Kalinga and the Tinala of the Tibuli. These are just several examples of our forebears' ingenuity, creativity, and rich cultural tradition. Understanding our pre-colonial milieu will help us rediscover our innate creativity as a nation and how it will propel us to a more prosperous future. The word creativity is associated with originality, imagination, inspiration, ingenuity, and inventiveness. It is an inner characteristic of individuals to be imaginative and express ideas. Associated with knowledge, these ideas are the essence of intellectual capital. Similarly, every society has its stock of intangible cultural capital articulated by people's identity and values. The 21st century has seen a growing understanding of the interface between creativity, culture, economics, and technology, the rationale behind the emerging concept of the creative economy. The United Nations has dedicated the year 2021 to the creative economy and its critical role in promoting sustainable development, especially in a post-coronavirus world. As the pandemic induced lockdowns and limited social interactions, many people at home took up a crop, read books, watch series and films connected to digital entertainment and games, or shop online. These avenues of economic activity rely on unlimited resource, the human creativity. At the heart of the creative economy lies the creative industries, which transcends the arts, culture, business, and technology. In other words, they comprise the cycle of creation, production, and distribution of goods and services that choose intellectual capital as their primary output. They interplay with traditional technology-intensive and service-oriented subsectors. They range from traditional cultural expressions such as the arts and crafts, performing arts, and live creative experiences, audio and audiovisual media, digital interactive media, creative services, design, books, publishing, and printed media, visual arts, and cultural sites. All these creative domains require creative skills and can generate economic growth through trade and intellectual property rights. The creative industries have become an increasingly important contributor to GDP growth. Over the past 15 years, the creative economy is one of the most rapidly growing sectors of the world economy that generated income, jobs, and exports. The creative economy accounts for 3% of global GDP, which makes it a powerful emerging economic sector that is being strengthened by a surge in digitalization and new technologies. In 2013, it generated $2.3 trillion and 29.5 million jobs. The 2018 UNCTAD report states that the Philippines' creative goods exports increased from $776 million in 2005 to $915 million in 2014. Design goods accounted for the largest share of exports, with fashion goods at $279 million, interior design at $221 million, and toys and jewelry combined at $116 million for 2014. Creative goods imports stood at $792 million, driven by the import of design goods, which stood at $469 million. The spending allotted to clothing and footwear in the country posted a 10.2% growth rate for 2015, showing the potential for the development of locally designed brands. In 2014, the main destination market for creative goods exports of the Philippines were the Americans at 54%, Asia at 29%, Europe at 13%, Oceania at 3%, and Africa at 1%. The top export partner for creative goods was the United States of America. The Philippines maintained trade deficits with China, Republic of Korea, Australia. The Philippines supplied a wide range of creative services such as telecommunications, computer, and information services, which stood at $3.1 billion, and audiovisual services at $54 million in 2014. The Philippines has been providing animation services to the world for over 30 years now, making the Philippines the preferred outsourcing partner of big international production outfits worldwide. Indeed, the foregoing facts, there is a need to create a Philippine Creative Industries Development Plan and the Philippine Creative Industry Development Council to unleash the full potential of our creative industries. This measure will spur innovation of knowledge, transfer all sectors of the economy, stimulate economic diversification, create new opportunities for SMEs, foster inclusive development, and achieve sustainable development goals while enriching our rich cultural tradition and values. Let me say again that Filipinos don't run out of rich and creative ideas. We need to establish a conducive environment to overcome barriers to the creative industries and nurture their creative capacities and enhance their competitiveness in world markets. We also recognize the role of intellectual property rights as a tool with which to generate earnings from creative industries. We need to improve the enforcement of intellectual property law and modernize ICT infrastructure because technology plays a key role in the creative economy. In conclusion, the creative industries can catalyze change and build more inclusive and sustainable development fact. It has the power to influence, inspire, and shape the present and future generations to build more collaborative societies that protect cultures and natural resources and revolutionize new paradigms. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My esteemed colleagues, mabuhay po ang malikhaing Pilipino. Magandang hapon at maraming salamat po.
Thank you to the Honorable Bolilia, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the last to deliver the sponsorship speech, I move that we recognize the gentleman from 3rd District, Negros Occidental, Honorable Francisco Kiko Benitez, to deliver his sponsorship speech. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Representative from Negros Occidental is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, it is my honor and pleasure to co-sponsor with our brilliant and hardworking chair, Congressman Toff de Venecia. And on behalf of the broad community of artists, artisans, musicians, performers, designers, and other creative professionals, House Bill number 10107 as contained in Committee Report number 1179. Mr. Speaker, Chairman De Venecia and Vice Chair Bolilia have already delivered their sponsorship speeches, and I will try to make mine very brief. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic reversed economic gains in the past decade. After growing by 6.4% annually in the period of 2010 to 2019, our GDP declined by 9.5% in 2020, the worst performance since 1947. But we seem to finally be seeing some sunshine. After 5 consecutive quarters of contraction, our economy grew by 11.8% in the second quarter of 2021. Mr. Speaker, we understand that this may be driven by low base effect and by no means signals that our people's economic woes are over. We are not out of the woods yet, and the challenge to the government remains. We need to support struggling industries. We need to develop new economic engines to further accelerate our recovery and make these efforts as inclusive and as sustainable as possible. One potential engine of inclusive growth are the creative industries. The creative spirit is deeply embedded in our culture, in our psyche. Our artistic traditions are markers of national identity and national pride. For centuries, Filipino artists and artisans have been creating economic value out of their performances and crafts, out of the creations of their minds, their hands, and their souls. Napakayaman ng Pilipino sa larangan ng sining. Marami ng success stories ang nagpatunay na ang natatanging talento at pagkamalikhain ay daan tungo sa mas maginhawang buhay, na ang talento ay nagbibigay ng pagkakataon umahon ang kabuhayan. The challenge to us is to further expand opportunities for our artists, our artisans, and creative professionals so that they can generate even more income from their craft and turn their creativity into a real engine for economic growth and development for us all. The value chains of creative industries cut across domains like agriculture, manufacturing, and services. Creative industries include production of textiles, food, animation, interior design, authors, graphic illustrators, musicians, architects, performing artists, live events, to software and digital content development and services. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, the world is now in the course of the fourth industrial revolution, and scientific innovations and digital technologies are enhancing economic processes. We should harness digital transformation to enable new forms of creative expression and to open new pathways for distribution of creative crafts and content and nurture new interactions between creators and their audience. Altogether, and as mentioned by Chairman De Venecia, The Philippine creative industries were estimated to be valued at 689 billion pesos in 2012, which was then 6.52% of the GDP. Data suggests that large creative companies employ 740,000 workers, with more in MSMEs and 3.6 million freelance workers. The industry sector accounts for 14% of the total labor force in the Philippines. According to the census of the Philippine business and industry, the sector grew by 12% annually between 1999 and 2010, higher than our GDP growth rate, a rate that can easily be achieved with adequate and sustained planning and support. With sufficient government support through infrastructure, education, and capital, we can grow our creative economy to underwrite our post-pandemic recovery, generate employment, raise household incomes, and more importantly, perhaps, develop soft power and enlarge Filipino consciousness and pride. House Bill 10107 is about all of this, accelerating the development of our creative industries, enabling them to adapt and compete in the global digital market, while at the same time expanding and capitalizing on the skills and imaginations that make us who we are. The Filipino has huge creative potential. Globally competitive Filipino talent emerge organically. Musicians, dancers, photographers, painters, animators, architects, game developers, software engineers, fashion and furniture designers, web designers, actors, filmmakers, poets, novelists, the list goes on. Without much government support, the Philippines is already the #1 exporter of creative services in the ASEAN. There are many self-made Filipino creatives in Hollywood. Animators like Josie Trinidad, director at Disney, and Jeannie Cruz Santos, the animator for Disney Pixar's Coco. But it is not only Filipino talent that is world-class, but also Filipino content. Only recently, the animated series Trece, based on graphic novels of Budget Tan, also topped Netflix top 10 charts in 19 countries, drawing global appreciation to Filipino folklore. Napakahusay ng talentadong Pilipino. Tinataas ang bandila ng lahing Pilipino sa buong mundo. Mas malayo pa ang ating mararating kung tatapatan ng gobyerno ng sapat na suporta ang kanilang talento at galing. Marami sa kanila ang kahos ngayong panahon ng pandemya. For film or television production and concert crews, for example, restrictions on live and taped productions mean no projects, no income. Napakahalaga ng suporta ng gobyerno para ibangon ang kabuhayan at dignidad ng maraming creative professionals at workers na nawalan ng kabuhayan dahil sa pandemya. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, this bill is key to reviving our creative economy because our creative industries may very well be our key to a fuller economic recovery. House Bill 10107 aims to provide a clear direction to develop Philippine creative labor and entrepreneurship in all sectors of the creative economy by mandating the formation of roadmaps for each sector and the creation of a strong interagency council to set targets and to closely monitor our progress in our creative economy journey. The investments that the bill requires to develop creative industries are nothing but a drop in the bucket to the benefit that we stand to gain, not just to our economy in the future, but to our national pride. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, in this period of disruption, due to the fourth industrial revolution and pandemic, where social relations are threatened by the ascent of machines and social media and deadly pathogens, our rich cultural traditions and creative expressions draw us together and give us strength, gives meaning to our humanity, our unique cultural memory, and our national community. In the face of the rise of artificial intelligence, our creativity sets us apart, both as human and as Filipinos, and ensures our cultural survival and buttress our place in the family of nations. Our creatives shape our inner worlds and form the means for our communal understanding and cultural ties. They make us palpably feel the Filipino soul. In a globalized world that tends towards standardization and homogeneity, our creative and cultural workers mold who we are and make manifest what is uniquely ours. They produce the content that becomes the best currency of the contemporary world's global creative economy. And the creative industries expand the scope of our cultural patrimony and most importantly, transform them into an industrial sector contributing to the economy as an engine of growth. It is high time that we craft a comprehensive framework for the development of our diverse and dynamic creative economy to focus resources in the adaptation, success, and advancement of our cultural and human capital in a fast-changing world. Hamon po sa atin na itaguyod ang manglilikhang Pilipino para buhayin at pagyamanin ang pamana ng ating lahi at maging pundasyon ng makulay at maunlad na kinabukasan ang galing ng Pilipino. Sana suportahan po natin ang panukalang ito para sa tagumpay ng talentedong Pilipino sapagkat ang kinabukasan ay nasa ating mga kamay, ubugin at likahin natin ngayon. Because, as we keep on repeating, the future is creative. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you to the Honorable Kiko Benitez. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move a few minutes suspension.
Session suspended. Palagi na lang ako yung diretso Ano oras na ba? Oo nga no, listen ko na. That's okay. May mag-interpolate. Si Sarah yata mag-interpolate Why don't finish this? Kasi Manong Benny yun. Pwede naman pumalit din yun. Oo nga pala, David. No, Deputy Speaker. Mamaya. Tingnan natin muna kung tutuloy. CR na lang muna ako, Dave. Yes, sir. Sasabi ko sa
Mag-interpolate si Ma'am Shara dito. Okay, pabukas na natin kasi 7 minutes to go.
Yun, pwede.
Ano pa ba yung ano natin?
Mama ka din. Bukas na. Highlights natin. Awarding. Balik ni ano na. Approval on 13. Tapos suspend na tayo para bukas. Depende ito. Tomorrow again. Wala pa namang if you are able to deliver. Alam ko lang ka na may no. Balik.
Anong calendar?
Adoption ng calendar. May basa kayo nun? House Concurrent Resolution number ganyan. Adoption ng legislative calendar natin. Tapos, suspend na tayo. Talaga yung din ng buhat po. Okay, Erican. Okay, Erican.
Approval of calendar na tapos adjourn till tomorrow kasi 5 o'clock na.
Suspend lang, sir. I move to suspend consideration of this yung House bill. Bukas na ulit.
Saan nga ba siya? Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend consideration. Tapos, ito. I move that we consider House Concurrent Resolution 19 to be set by the related item. Tapos, I move to adopt House Concurrent Resolution. Ayan. Tapos, suspend. I move to adopt House Concurrent Resolution number 19.
Session resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill 10107.
Are there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Concurrent Resolution 19 and the Secretary General be directed to read the title.
The Secretary General is directed to read the House Concurrent Resolution 19.
House Concurrent Resolution number 19, concurrent resolution providing for the legislative calendar for the third regular session of the 18th Congress of the Philippines.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt House Concurrent Resolution number 19. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor say nay. The ayes have it. House Concurrent Resolution 19 is hereby adopted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend until tomorrow, 2 o'clock, September 8, 2021.
Session suspended until September 8, 2021 at 2 p.m.
5 o'clock na.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Sunod-sunod na yan. Picture.
Kip, picture tayo. Lima.
Yan lang mamang kulang, yung group picture na lang. Meron pa po. Stop.
Kip, feeling bagay.
Ready po. Ready. Video social distancing lang po. Okay po. Okay, ready. One more. Okay po.